And as the Premier has been wont to say on quite a number of occasions, this won't happen overnight, and this virus will be with us for a very long period to come, largely because we don't have a vaccine, and it will mean that we're going to have to continue our efforts. And one of those efforts is not just in dealing with the presence of the virus in our community, but also our need to continue to support businesses and members of the community, the public, in circumstances where the presentation of this virus and our social distancing rules are causing hardship. So we've already provided a grand total now, I think, of $6 billion worth of support to the community. This package now includes a number of additional elements. I'll let Minister Pallas take you through the specifics of those elements, but they include cash grants for struggling businesses, mental health support for business owners, relief for tourism operators who can no longer welcome Melbourne-based visitors for holidays, tailored and targeted advice for businesses to stay apart and stay afloat and then bounce back on the other side. We'll expand the Business Support Fund and provide more than 80,000 eligible businesses with a $5,000 grant for dedicated support to get them through the crisis and to avoid collapse. So the package also includes a $30 million dedicated fund worked up in conjunction with the AHA for the hardest hit businesses in hospitality and our nighttime economy. The government will also invest $36 million towards mental health support and mentoring for business owners and operators, including sole traders, doing it tough because of the pandemic. We've also established a $20 million fund specifically for the CBD, and that, of course, is as a consequence of the government's efforts to insist upon social distancing and the impact that's had on foot traffic and therefore a lot of businesses within the CBD proper. Businesses will also benefit from an extended and expanded payroll tax deferral. Eligible businesses with payrolls up to $10 million can defer their liabilities for the first half of the 2020-21 financial year. So this is a testing time for business. It's a testing time for us all. It is important that we do more than simply provide platitudes of support to the community. As a government, we are putting in place real, tangible efforts to assist the community. And those real, tangible efforts will be ongoing, can I assure you. This will not be the last that you hear of support from this government as we go through these difficult times. We will, of course, wait to see what comes out of the federal government's efforts on the 23rd of July when they indicate what will happen to the refinements to the JobKeeper program. And that, of course, will inform us going forward as to what further additional support might be required for the community. This is not a single event. This is not the government simply saying this is it and we're out. This is us saying we're here with you all the way through what will be a very traumatic, a very distressing and a very difficult time for all Victorians. I understand that. I apologise for it because this is nowhere where any Victorian wanted to be. But it's the reality of the situation that we confront, and the obligation upon us all is to put our best efforts towards helping everybody make it through to the other side of this event. I'll throw now to Minister Pallas.
Thanks, Treasurer. I just want to go to some more detail in regards to some of the items that the Treasurer has referred to. And I do want to thank Paul Guerra, the CEO of the Victorian Chamber of Commerce and Industry, who's here this morning and who I believe will be available to take some questions later for the work that they've done with the government along with other industry groups in trying to refine this package. So as you'd be aware, when certain suburbs were locked down, we announced a payment of $5,000 in addition to the $10,000 that had already been received by many of those businesses. That will now, of course, be extended to any business that is within any of those localities which are subject to the lockdown order. As the Treasurer alluded to, in terms of the nighttime economy, there were a number of businesses who did not benefit from the initial tranche of support, given the size of their payroll. So some of those large restaurants, pubs and hospitality venues will be supported under this $30 million fund for the nighttime economy. And in terms of the CBD support, I had a conversation this morning with the Lord Mayor. The fact is that the CBD has been in some respects uniquely hit by the fact that stay-at-home directives have particularly kept people away from the CBD, and the absence of foot traffic in the CBD has meant that many of the businesses in the city and Docklands and South Bank have been particularly affected by the restrictions that have been imposed on Victorians. The Treasurer alluded to a business advisory and wellbeing program, $36 million, $10 million of that collaboratively between the Small Business Commission and the Victorian Chamber, and the balance of that for mental health support with mental health contractors that will be engaged to provide that support for business. And in terms of regional tourism, there's some marketing support there which will obviously wait until we're at a point where we're actively encouraging people from the regions to move around. That's not today. But there's also the support that we previously announced for businesses that had suffered cancellations from those particular lockdown postcodes. That will now be expanded to accommodation providers who have cancellations as a consequence of those lockdowns in that broader remit of suburbs.